So, thank you very much one more time. It was very insightful, and I think it's always very good to see what large companies as the BASF is really pushing and doing. So now we are coming to the next topic. PPWR. We already spoke about how to really bring power inside the system. And perhaps one of the possibilities is to have something like the PPWR to really push the system. So we will discuss about this. Please welcome on stage Dr. Isabell Schmidt. She's the moderator of the next session, and I hope it will be even more insightful. So thank you very much and welcome on stage.
Thank you. Hi. My name is Isabell Schmidt. I'm Managing Director at IK, the German Plastics Packaging Association. And I welcome you to this panel discussion on the PPWR, the new EU regulation on packaging and packaging waste. It just came into force in February this year, and the PPWR is introducing targets on recyclability and on packaging design in general, and especially for plastics packaging. Some of these requirements may become a stress test for our industry, because although our sector has made significant achievements in recycling, design for recycling, and also recycled content uptake in the past decade, there's still a way to go to fulfill the targets of the PPWR. So that's what we want to talk about today. And it's my great pleasure to welcome our distinguished panelists today, which are Carolina Gregorio. Please, Carolina. Welcome. Carolina is Policy and Advocacy Director for Plastics and Specialty Plastics in the EMEA region at Dow.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm doing some logistics things here, all fine.
Yes. What are you? Okay.
Working for Plastics Europe a bit.
Then I also welcome Alexander Reitz on stage. Alexander, I only have the title. He's replacing Alexander Roth, and on my card it's still in Alexander Roth, so you may just say who you are.
Thank you. Thank you very much, and thank you very much for having me. I'm Alex Reitz, same initials, same opinions, and Alex Roth. I'm responsible at PreZero for our consulting on sustainable packaging.
Great. I also welcome Silke Linneweber. She is Governmental Affairs Manager at EVONIK. Welcome, Silke. And last not least, Seyda. She's Sustainable Director at Amcor. And congratulations to your recent promotion, Ellen. So we appreciate your time here and look forward to your valuable perspectives. So let's first talk about recyclability. The PPWR contains two major requirements when it comes to recyclability of packaging. First, from applying in 2030, we will have design for recycling criteria that will have to be met to at least 70%. That's the threshold. And later on, in 35, we will have another stage of recyclability, which will be a requirement on recycled at scale, meaning that the packaging placed on the market must be recycled to 55% throughout Europe. So that means that we will need massive investments in recycling infrastructure. So let's jump into it. We know that we still need more secondary legislation and also standardization to actually know what we are talking about. We know we need to do recyclability, but then the concrete criteria are not yet established. So Ellen, may I start with you? How do you actually prepare for design for recycling and measure it in your company if you do not even have the clear criteria yet?
Yeah, so what we do today is we base our design for recycling assessment on the drafts for the CEN standards. So it's not finished, but for us it's the best guess we can use. So in principle, we check if we have all elements in the green or in the yellow column, and to avoid the red ones. And additionally, we check if we have at least 70% of yield of the material, so that we at least meet the 70% and no red elements. And that's all we can do today, because it's not, the grading system is not defined by the European Commission, I would say, so can't do more today. The third element would be, of course, the main material of the packaging. So we try to use PE, PET, and PP, sometimes even polystyrene, but everything which is out of this might be on risk because we might not reach the recycled content target one day.
So you are more or less guessing. Are you just applying those draft standards, or are you also contributing to them in the sense of working in the committees?
Yes, I was involved as expert in the working group for the design for recycling standards, so it was a very intensive work the last years, and looking forward also to the already, I think, agreed next phase, so that we will have upgraded standards, because there are still some elements that needs to be included. So even if it's already quite good document, there needs to be some upgrades, I would say.
Silke, what do you see as the role of design for recycling? What is it meant for?
Well, maybe just before I answer the question itself, just a word about EVONIK to understand where we come from. We are not a recycler and we're not a packaging producer. We're a specialty chemicals company, and we enable recycling. We enable mechanical recycling, chemical recycling with our solutions. So of course, design for recycling is key. If it's not recyclable, it simply doesn't work. So what we see currently with our partners is that we need to also think design for circularity or design for recycling as a chain, as there are many different steps that need to be. And for us, for example, we could say it starts very early in this chain. You may have something like the inking. You may need to be able to get the ink away from the packaging, and we can help to enable that. Or in a later point, you may need a solution to indeed incorporate the recyclate into a compound, and all these steps along the value chain must be considered in design for recycling, and we must make sure we have the technologies ready once the PPWR kicks in.
Do you actually make a distinction between design for mechanical recycling and design for chemical recycling?
Well, our customers do, right? Because with chemical recycling, I think it's a different solution. For example, you may wish, if you do pyrolysis, you may wish to have an upgraded oil in the end to remove some contaminants in the oil. As for recycling of packaging, which you want to recycle mechanically, really the inking may be in the first step something that you really need, and which also may help to increase mechanical recycling rates, right?
Alex, at PreZero, you run mechanical recycling plants. So for you, design for recycling, what is it about?
Well, it's a fundamental first step that we need to achieve if we want to go to a more circular economy for plastics. And but overall, I think if you look at the PPWR, there is a big legislation, very, very ambitious. But in terms of recyclability, I feel the most confident if we look at all these different regulations that are in there, because there are studies that in Germany, at least in German market, more than 3/4 of all packaging is at least recycled when it's made of plastic. So there's still a way to go. but I think we already achieved a lot.
And do you feel like the Schwarz Group is prepared when it comes to design for recycling?
Yes.
So if you get their packaging, you are glad. If you get packaging from others, maybe not.
I wouldn't go so far, but I think we are. I mean, Ellen mentioned that there is still a lot of uncertainty about what the particular details of the delegated acts will look like, what are the requirements in detail. So we have challenges there. I won't deny that, because the time frames are also very, very short. But if we look at the gap where we are and that suitable technologies already exist or suitable packaging solutions have been developed, I am confident. Right now, I think we are above average, but we still obviously have a ways to go in our own private label packaging.
What are the main quick wins, the top 2 or 3 changes that you feel would make the life of a recycler like you are easier?
Well, I think some of the low-hanging fruits have already been gotten, so it's the higher-hanging fruits that we're talking about right now. But especially monomaterials, getting rid of paper labels on plastic packaging, these were the big ones. What we saw in the last couple of years was a displacement or change of plastic packaging, that you have a yogurt cup, very thin one, and then you have a sleeve around that. That is very, very hard to sort, but there's also a new generation of this packaging being developed that then separates in facilities by itself, and moving to these technologies is also a good idea and would be some of the quick wins. Basically applying what is already in the market, just not scaled up.
And has Amcor already been phasing out certain kinds of plastics packaging?
Yeah, I think we have done this for many, many years now, but of course the PPWR will not only force us to remove some packaging materials, also some packaging designs and some kind of decorations maybe. So especially looking at the beauty sector, it will be a challenge to design the beauty packaging of the future, I would say, and the consumer as well as the market has to accept this.
All right, that's maybe not so the easiest sector, the cosmetics and beauty sector.
Yeah.
Carolina, what is Dow doing with partners to advance design for recycling?
Thank you for the question. Good to see so many people around. I totally agree with my co-panelists. Design for recyclability is a key backbone of a plastic circular economy, which can be profitable and sustainable. Why? Because if you don't design for being recycled afterwards, it's much difficult not only to do it technically, but to sell it commercially. And we want to make sure that we create a circular economy which is sustainable, right, from the economic but as well environmental perspective. So let me tell you about Dow. We have been working in the past almost 15 years with value chain partners, extrusion OEMs that are represented here in the fair, converter partners, Amcor and many others, and to advance those design for recyclability. So let me be specific. We have been developing products, so plastics materials with enhanced properties that are enabled to do those redesign, moving from multi-material structures, typically PET, multilaminated with metallization treatments, towards monopolyethylene designs that are recyclable, either mechanically or chemically. To your question before to Silke, we don't distinguish because we design for recyclability no matter what is going to be happening afterwards to make the economics workable. So we are showcasing many innovations in our stand. I invite you to visit us outside of Hall 4, in which you will see how those innovative materials are commercially available here and now, and are showcasing in many of the stands as well with extrusion OEM. So it's not a dream, it's a commercial reality, and it's happening. We just need more market pull for that to happen. I can elaborate further on how we see that.
Okay, yeah, you were mentioning innovation. So what is the role of innovation, and is there actually space left for innovation? Because we will have such a rigid design for recycling guidelines, so where's the space for innovation?
Innovation is crucial to be able to advance a circular economy, not only in design for recyclability, but as well to incorporate recycled plastics back to new applications, especially in high-performance, high-value applications, again, to make the business case viable and to scale up a circular economy, protecting our resources and fighting climate change. So innovation is the pillar. Innovation in materials, innovation in recycling technologies, innovation in processing conditions for fabricating those packages, in extrusion machinery. Why? Because only with materials innovations we can get to a point, but we need a combination of all technologies to make that happen. So both recyclability and recycle use incorporation. And this is the line in which Dow has been working with partners to move the needle in terms of performance in both angles.
Silke, you want to reply directly?
Yeah, I would like to build on something Carolina said.
Yes.
First of all, thanks a lot for the input on innovation. I share everything completely. But what I find very interesting is what you said before. You talked about innovation, that's the need for demand for sustainable solutions. Because the PPWR was setting MRC targets, mandatory minimum recycled content targets. We think it's a good mechanism, it's a good first step, but of course it needs enabling conditions, and one of them is that a circular, sustainable product, which is will be ultimately more expensive, needs to find a market. And we also must make sure that indeed our solutions come into the products that are there, and I think we really need to, the new European Commission indeed needs to do something there.
Something in addition to the secondary legislation, because companies, we already have the PPWR, so companies will be forced to follow these guidelines and use design for recycling. Otherwise, they will not be allowed to place their packaging on the market anymore.
Indeed, they will have to follow this, but they need a framework in which what is meant to happen with the PPWO, in which what is meant to be achieved can really be delivered, like looking at the role of public procurement in indeed finding a market for circular packaging, looking at other mechanisms, greening that, or probably even building a new mechanism to support investments.
Alexander, what's your opinion?
Yeah, I fundamentally agree with that. I mean, in your introduction, you mentioned, okay, first of all, we have this design for a recycling criteria, but then we also have recycling at scale. And this means investments in infrastructure, and this means a working internal market for circular products. And I think if we took an honest look at the market right now, we see that there's just more needed, and especially the PPWR introduced itself some uncertainty for investments by giving revision clauses on recycled content targets. So that is really, really hard. I mean, over the last few years, we, as Schwarz Group, invested more than hundreds of millions into circular economy and sorting and recycling. And we stand by that, and we will continue to do so, but it is hard on the current climate, and I think there are some market mechanisms that could be used or to improve upon the situation.
So what are you suggesting?
Well, there are credit tradings proposals, there are certain subsidies that you can get if you put recycled materials into the market. There are different things into consideration right now, and I really hope that this discussion can move forward and that we see that there's something that works for the market as a whole and that gives a fair chance to mechanical recycling especially.
So financial incentives for PCR content, is that what you're talking about, and for design for recycling?
Yes. In essence, that's what I'm talking about, but really, let's be clear, we're not talking about government handouts for that, what we're already doing and what we already believe in, right? The mechanical recycling industry is quite old, we've been here, but we want a fair chance and good market condition to compete with virgin products and to be able to compete with advanced recycling technologies, so we just need a level playing field, and right now we see there is an imbalance.
Not a level playing field between
virgin plastics and with mechanical recycled materials. I mean, we are very, very proud what we were able to achieve in terms of our materials and our mechanical properties of our recycled materials. But it is still a material that is performing worse than virgin, and it's more expensive. So that it's very hard value proposition if you don't believe in the cause.
So this is a barrier for investments at the moment, and we need those investments in recycling infrastructure. Carolina, what is your opinion on the barriers? We all agree that we need to build up more recycling capacity throughout Europe, especially for certain packaging formats. So how is it going? What barriers are there, and what would you wish from politics?
Alexander was already indicating, that we have this framework approved. This is really good. But we really need that the framework is enforced and is not changed. So this gives a signal of certainty for investments to come. The targets are there, the targets they need to stay, as you just described. So for those investments to happen, we need such a security. I totally agree with your comment, all technologies should be incentivized. We might be asking as well for some other levers to get there, as you say, fiscal incentives to recycle plastics products and materials. We might think as well, and I think we are welcoming, because this is already happening ahead of time, PPWR comes as well with mandatory eco-modulation of packaging EPR fees for brands as of 2030 onwards based on recyclability. We want to see this now implemented in all the nations and EPR schemes. We are seeing this happening. 8 schemes in Europe are already applying some kind of eco-modulation based on recyclability. Some pioneering schemes like Verpack in the Netherlands are already applying eco-modulation based on recycled content. Technology neutral approach, all technologies recognized. We need more of that to happen. So the brand owners that are front runners in circularity, incorporating recycled content already, and using recyclable structures that are benefiting financially. This will create the business case to accelerate those investments that you just described. On top of that, we need clear enforcement of rules for imports. This is a discussion on the table, is the elephant in the room. The Commission has said this will come in secondary legislation next year, as you know. But this is absolutely crucial, mirror clause, because for leveling the playing field, Europe cannot be isolated in the world. We have a global market, this is a global market. So we need to impose those rules through certifications and verifications at the border to make sure that, of course, imports can count and will count in the same conditions that European domestic production. This is other things that we think can be done to incentivize the investments from here till there in 2030, so we see how the circular economy can scale up in Europe.
So we have already moved in the discussion to PCR content. So let me just, for the audience, also name a few facts of the requirements that the PPWR is setting. By 2030, all plastic parts in packaging will need to have recycled content. And there are different levels of recycled content that are needed. It's 30% PCR, post-consumer recycled material, for PET packaging and also for beverage bottles. It's 10% for other contact-sensitive packaging. So, for instance, polyolefin food containers, even food. And it's 35% for all other packaging, so non-contact sensitive polyolefin or polystyrene packaging. And I can tell you that that is a lot. And we do a regular monitoring amongst our members in Germany where we stand, and the PCR levels have tripled since 2017. But I must also stress that most of it is in PET bottles. And we are really lacking behind when it comes to polyolefins, for instance. We are sitting at 1% in contact-sensitive packaging, or those were the figures 2 years ago. From 1, we need to get to 10%. And for non-contact sensitive packaging, we need to get from 18% to 35%. So these are, for Germany alone, hundreds of kilotons of PCR that we need in addition. So actually, there should be an increase in capacities of at least 10% throughout Europe every year. But that's not happening. why not? What is actually happening? And maybe I start with you. Are you feeling worried about that?
Yes, a bit. So, to be honest, so there are these three elements that we are not sure about which kind of recycled content we can use and what are the calculation methods. So it would be easy to say we use chemically recycled material, but up to now, nobody knows, will it be available at scale? Will the calculation method make a business case out of it? So all this is unclear. So, and also the carbon footprint calculations and all of this might not look like it's a perfect solution for everything. So we invested ourselves in mechanical recycled recycling line in UK. It's operating. We produce contact-sensitive PP from curbside collected material using artificial intelligence, ensuring that everything is meeting the standards. We applied for the novel technology. The first reaction of the UK government was, oh, we do not feel that we need to work towards this. We are not EU anymore, and we need to decide this with our government. And so it took more than a year, and we decided in the meantime to make the same application in France, because we have subsidiaries in France, and they welcomed it and worked on this. So we have the novel technology now. Still, we do not produce really food contact packaging out of it. We are in early stage, but we just want to be 100% sure that everything is running perfectly, because it is not spot buying. This is really at scale, 50,000 tons input per year and all of this. So once we roll it out for a global player, then there is no way of return. So up to now, we have it in cosmetic applications and so on. But what is quite sure is that this is not enough. So maybe we would need 10 of those lines only for us. And to be fair, also the properties that you would achieve having now the average mix of the market of packaging doesn't meet the requirements for all packaging types. So I cannot use the same PP for thermoforming, blow molding, and thin wall injection molding, and for extrusion blow molding. So this doesn't work, and this will be then the next step that we need to go.
Oh, okay. But then for your own demand, you feel like you will be able more or less to supply for your own plants?
Not today, so we need to invest in the coming years. So we have some things pending and waiting for the final decisions, but it's also that we are waiting for decisions from the government. So, I mean, the speed that the EU Commission requires from us to work towards the PPWR is not kept by themselves. So they need 3 years to define the rules, and then we have 2 years to adapt to them. So I'm not sure if they know how long it takes to place a new packaging on the market, how long it takes to invest in a new recycling line. So, there's a little unbalanced situation of the timing, I would say.
Yes, and obviously Amcor, or also formerly Berry, are big players that can do much more than the average of plastics packaging converters, that are more dependent on what their virgin suppliers are offering them. So Carolina, what are you offering, what solutions are you offering to packaging converters that are maybe not as big and more or less independent as Amcor is?
No, but I share the views of my colleagues before. I think this is as well another elephant in the room, right? And it's linked to the previous questions. What do we need to get there? So we are committed as an industry, Dow is committed to invest in different recycling technologies, as you just described, right? Mechanical, chemical, dissolution, or physical recycling. We do have partners and projects in the 3 technology ranges. We do have commercial solutions with those partners already that we can offer across a broad range of consumer, logistics, packaging applications, and food contact applications as well. I have a sample here, I will tell you in a second. But what do we need to scale up the model, right? Because we have a pipeline of investments, but we need to scale up as an industry. We need to scale up as Dow. And there are still some missing things, as you just described. One concrete thing is a fast adoption of clear and flexible enough mass balance rules that are enabling the business case of advanced recycling to be successfully scaling up in Europe. This is crucial because, the rules, they need to be credible, but they need to be flexible. Otherwise, the investments will not come. And there is a joint investment pledge that we all did as Plastics Europe 4 years ago, can be seen in the website, of 8.3 billion euros to be invested in a combined manner by industry to get those capacities in shape and form in 2030. So your question, is possible to get the volume needed to fill the 10% target? Yes, it is. But give me a signal to make the investment case viable now. So we're just waiting for that to happen. This is just one concrete thing. The other concrete thing is what we discussed before. Give me something in the middle, right, to bridge that scalability model. So, eco-modulated TPRs, financial discounts for recycled plastic, so we can all together scale up those investments to have the capacity in place. Don't forget that the EMEA CEO said yesterday here publicly that 4 million capacity of installed mechanical recycling capacity in Europe are stopped right now. 4 million out of 12. So the business case is crucial.
Because the mass balancing method has not been finalized?
No, this is mechanical recycling because basically the economics, there is not yet robust enough market pull demand from the market for those capacities, right? So the capacities are there. We just need to make sure that the business case is pulled up until 2030 with intermediate measures, eco-modulation of EPR fees, financial discounts for recycled plastics. So those businesses are happening. And on top, also the innovation, coming to your question, so we keep on innovating as an industry for even being able to use the capacity to produce higher quality products, to be able to extract more value. And this is done by innovation, materials and processes. I let to you, Alexander, to complement on that.
Thank you. I also wanted to come back to Ellen because the project that she mentioned by Amcor and formerly Barry, using the technology that is already there with object recognition and AI technology and basically taking on the risk and deploying these technologies that are available right now. It's working right now, but we need to scale it, we need to invest it, and unfortunately take on a lot of risks and basically endeavor into the unknown a bit and hope that the market catches up. So that is really what it takes. It's taking on risk right now and being entrepreneurial, I think. And I wish it was a little bit easier, but in general terms, I agree with you. We need security in the rules of the market. This includes mass balance approaches. What can we expect? And what does the market situation look like? Because otherwise it's impossible, basically, to build a solid business case.
Silke, you looked like you wanted to extend on it. No, okay.
I agree to everything that has been said because I find it very important. The thing that comes to my mind was something very basic, just to say it, to be sure we all agree. But to reach the targets that are set in the PPWR, we will need a scale up of all technologies available, and we will need to really deliver then on further targets and to really make it work and turn it into a lever for sustainable packaging on a great scale. We do need innovation at broad scale in all technologies.
So is my understanding correct that you mentioned that virgin plastic at the moment is so cheap, that the demand is not there yet, and that brand owners, converters, etc., are just waiting until one day before the 1st of January 2030 to ask for PCR? Is that the problem?
This is basically what we are saying, right? This is the elephant in the room. To build capacity, the industry needs time. So the certainty of the targets is crucial. They cannot be moved. The industry is ready. We need intermediate signals to make the whole change benefiting from those signals. So the investments that are in the pipeline by all companies now and all of the others are coming. And let me be also making just sure, this is a global fair, but let me say something. For me, circularity is a great opportunity of differentiation by innovation in Europe. Why I said that? Because the largest capacity of installed mechanical recycling capacity in the world the FATS data was released yesterday here in PreZero, so it's public data. 55% of the mechanical capacity of the world is installed in Asia, 25% in Europe. Europe has a tremendous opportunity to compete on value, not on volume. And we have super differentiated innovative processes of recycling, right? And materials. We can make things that nobody else today in the global regional recycling industry can make. And some of the things are happening now. So let's use that lever to create value until we get those happenings, right? But of course, needs to have much more pull from brands. That's why eco-modulation of a PR phase for me is crucial.
If I may add to that, I completely agree with that. It is a great opportunity for Europe, but the clock is really ticking, because if we see at the progress that's being made in Asia also, not on quantity, but on quality, it is not an opportunity that will be there forever. But overall, you're completely right.
So in Asia, are they preparing and investing more than here for the demand in 2030? Will that be the solution for the brands and the converters, that they will import PCR?
But here it comes, like, the capacity is the capacity and the numbers are the numbers. The targets in PPWR are open to imports. So that's a fact. They will need to comply with European regulation. That's the matter close condition to come next year. Fair enough. So imports can count. Now, if you explore further the numbers and you see the capability, so you don't need only the capacity. You need the performance. You need the capability to match Amcor's needs, right? In cosmetics, in food contact packages. Then you need capability, and that's require CapEx. So, I think this is a tremendous opportunity for Europe, because we are front runners globally. And as you say, will not last forever, but we have such a lever that I think we should go further on that.
Yeah, and we should also think about the waste streams. So if we import the recycled material, what happens to our waste? So it should be a circular economy, and it should be using our input stream. So
yeah, preferably, but that's market. A little bit. So if there's a level playing field, do you feel there would be a level playing field? And is actually the European plastics industry in a position to, competitive enough? So I don't know who wants to take that question, maybe Silke.
Yeah, well, I think we are all aware that competitiveness is under huge pressure. And I think we've already lined out some things that we need to reestablish a fair level playing field internationally, and maybe look at some things to make sure, for example, that when we import recyclate into Europe, it really matches and fulfills the same standards as recyclate produced in Europe, so to speak. And of course, we're in a time of massive global trade turmoil. I don't know what will come, but I think it's almost a no-brainer to say that having a workable, resilient plastics recycling infrastructure and industry using all technologies is almost a strategic point now. Yeah, because we really need that, not only from an environmental point of view, but also from a different point of view. And when talking, and of course there's issues like energy prices, which hits companies, I think, in many sectors and of all sizes alike, and so on. But I also am hopeful that these things will be resolved.
There's actually one actor missing at this panel, which is the brand owner, or you are close to them, but also you, Alan, because it's actually the manufacturer, which is basically the brand owner, who has all those responsibilities under the PPWR. And therefore, maybe, Alan, can you tell us what your clients, which are the brand owners, what are they saying to the PPWR? Are they feeling nervous or relaxed, or what do they think?
So
or is it depending on their mentality?
it's mixed. So we have global players that are very well prepared and maybe on the same knowledge levels than we are, but there are also I would say, regional partners that are maybe surprised, others that hope that it doesn't come and everything will be changed. And then there are some that just send a request to show compliance statements. So please send us compliance statement that your packaging is compliant PPWR.
Yes.
And they do not understand that as of today we are not able to do this because the delegated acts or the rules are not there. So
And also you may be furnishing packaging material and there are no requirements on packaging material. You need to have the final packaging. So that's a difficult question to answer.
that's very true. Also, this is something we need to state to them, that we are obliged to deliver information to them, but that we cannot state compliance. Of course, we can at one day make compliance statements regarding Article 5 and the PFAS and all of this, but for the finished recyclability of the product, we cannot do really a statement. We can, of course, state the recycled content of the goods we deliver, but yeah, we are limited in our support.
Alex, last question to you. Isn't it worrying if we hear that large parts of the markets are just relying on exemptions that will then come if we don't have enough material? Isn't that putting investments at risk?
Absolutely, 100% agree with that. And because we also consult for a lot of brand owners, not only for Lidl and Kaufland, but also other companies, I want to add to that the PPWR, as I said in the beginning, is really massive, and so also the range of emotions that go along with it is quite a broad range. Some are emboldened, some are motivated, some are just confused, and some are enraged. So it's a great piece of legislation and great landmark, but introducing a lot of challenges, and this, what you just mentioned, is one of the foremost things that come to mind.
So basically, we all agreed that we need financial incentives now to make it happen, to make the huge investments happen. Yeah, so that's actually a good conclusion already. But as we have a few minutes left, I would like to open the panel to questions from the audience. And we have 2 hands here.
3.
3, maybe more.
Yeah, hello. My name is Daniel Rümmelt from the company Kunststoffe. We are a German recycling company, and we also decided to invest a lot of millions in the technology. I see, I want to share my experience. We have a lot of contact with brand owners, with converters, etc. And I think in some branches, some niches, it works very good. For example, the cosmetics. The brand owners want to use the PCR material with the content, but I see the problems there in the food contact, with the food contact sensitivity. And because outside Europe, the FDA, it's clear, it is workable, but inside, as you said, the novel technology, but right now there is no existing material available, and also the quantity problems. How do you see these problems, because we have a lot of, we have also a booth here in the K show, and we discussed it with many brand owners, and they said, okay, for cosmetics or other packaging sectors, it's okay, but food contact, it's very problem with, especially with the PP and with the PE. With the PET, it's clear, we have a good solution with the EFSA regulation, but not with this polyolefins. How do you see this challenge?
So who do you want to answer your question?
Feel free.
No, I can take it. I think we discussed this, right? Thank you for the question, by the way. For that scalability of food contact recycled polyolefins to happen, the business case for chemical recycling needs to be workable and viable, right? That's a clear statement. So for that to happen, the investments that are in the pipeline announced by jointly by many companies under PreZero umbrella and others, chemical recycling companies and startups, they need to be happening. Investment banks are as well behind some investments, and everybody's looking for that legal clarity of mass balance rules from Europe. Please give me that fast, in an effective manner, so this can happen. So to your question, is this ready now? No, it's not. Yeah. What is needed? Investments. How much it will take? Years. So from here to there, will we have time? Still yes, but we need to move fast. That would be my short answer to your question.
Also, so you see the solution about or over ICC plus,
Sorry?
about mass balance.
There were more people who wanted to ask questions.
Yeah, so I would like to add on this because for me this is really clearly divided between flexibles and rigids. So I would say for the flexibles we are far away from having a mechanical solution for primary food contact material. But in the rigid side of the business, I think we are nearly there, and it really depends on the brand owner. So if they are able to read the lab results, if they have their own chemical analytic people on board, then we are nearly there. So you just need to prove that you have the novel technology for the right amount of months available. You need to prove the results. And of course, the reliability of the source. Because what is usually done in the virgin is that you always have a backup material in case something happens. So it's not really easy to get a backup material of the same mechanical properties from recycled material. So, but I would say it's nearly there. We are starting up. And you see this in many areas of Europe. So it's not only us having the novel technology, there are also more people, maybe not officially claiming. You see it also in the polystyrene area. There, the brand owner already had, they just did it. So, and nothing happened.
Thank you for your experience. Yeah.
Okay, as we have run out of time, will you allow for another question?
One last
otherwise?
question. Okay, please.
Yes. Yeah, so I'm from Loop CO2. We are in the whole 5 US Pavilion. So my question is, Silke mentioned about the de-ink. So we are really interested in this technology. So for maybe PreZero or maybe Amcor, how critical is the de-ink? How these things can help for the mechanical recycling or other recycling?
De-inking. Maybe a question.
De-inking.
Okay.
Okay. So in our recycling line, we have caustic hot wash. And from our experience, this is a quite good method for de-inking. It doesn't work with every printing technology, so it needs to be proven. And what is definitely also needed is a flake sort afterwards, because we use material from curbside collections. You do not know the printing method, the printing inks that were used for this material. It is just material available on the market. And so the additional flake sorter proves that also the flakes that might not be de-inked successfully are sorted out so that we have really a clean stream. This is also the name of our material for the recycling. We know that there's big discussions about inks remaining in the recycled material, reheated, and until this is not really tested and science proven, I would say, then we need to have the de-inking.
So thanks very much. I saw there were more hands, but maybe we can bilaterally then talk to each other.
Thanks to you.
Thanks very much to my panelists, and thanks to the audience.
So, big applause. So, thank you very much. And now we are coming from the PPWR to the WEEE.